Hello and welcome to the Peak Podcast. My name is Kyle Nelson, and I'm very excited for this episode. We're gonna have an awesome conversation today. Had a great pre-call with him the other day, and there's going to be a lot of synergy. Before we get started, though, a reminder of the Peak Podcast. We talk to business owners, founders, coaches, entrepreneurs, and really understand what that peak moment was that they started their business. But what was the story behind that? Why was this business the impact that they are looking to make in this world? And what happened? Always very, very good conversations. And as you know, I am one of the co-founders of Peak Fulfillment. We do self-guided solo retreats in complete solitude where we find peace. And you're going to go over self-reflection, self-discovery, and vision crafting, and then be thrown into an awesome 90-day mastermind. But without further ado, I am going to bring on Mr. Mitch McGinley. He is the founder and president of Boutique Fitness Broker. Mitch, welcome to the Peak Podcast.
Thank you, Kyle. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I like to start things off with a little bit of an icebreaker, if you're open to it.
Absolutely.
If there were three people in history that you could have dinner with tonight at the dinner table, who would that be?
You know, I've listened to so many episodes and there are so many great answers to this question, and I'm going to cherry pick a couple of different approaches. But number one would be my dad. He died when I was really young. It was a tragic story. He had lots of demons. And I'm at a point now where I really just wish I could hang out and talk to him. You know, I think I would be a lot more understanding of what it feels like to struggle in your 40s with young kids and some of the things that I know were difficult. And so that's my very personal answer. You know, professionally, I think, you know, I was listening to the episode with Eric Cloward that you did. And I'm a big fan of Stoicism. And so he would be really fun to have to dinner. But Ryan Holiday is another person in that world that, you know, I spend a lot of time listening to and reading his books. And so I'm going to say Ryan Holiday.
Let's see, right here. Got my daily Stoic. It's right next to me. I think I've got 3 books behind me.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. And truthfully, you know, I love Eric's podcast too, not to promote another one on yours, but
he's amazing.
Yeah, the short coffee bits are just have been really terrific for me. So I'd love to hang out with him too. I'm cheating. I'm using 2 there. And then you know, politically, I feel like a lot of people is like someone from the past. I would love to sit down and talk to Robert Kennedy Sr. I feel like he was such an important figure at such a critical time in our country's history and was a uniter, you know, somebody who really brought people together and sought peace and understanding. And, you know, obviously his death was really tragic too. And I think, you know, the world could actually be a pretty different place if he had kept living.
Absolutely. That would be an awesome conversation at the dinner table, having all those people there. Well, Mitch, tell us a little bit about the Boutique Fitness Broker. What do you do? What's your specialty? And what's kind of the outcomes when you have someone work with you?
Yeah, I help people sell their businesses. It's really that simple. It's like being a real estate agent for small businesses. And so it's really fun to work with entrepreneurs all the time. You know, they're the best conversations, and I get to learn so much from everyone that I hang out with. My path was kind of a weird, windy one, but it started with hotels. That was my first career. I worked my way up corporate ladder at Omni Hotels and did well there. I eventually left, went back to school, got an MBA, and then I went to work with somebody who was flipping boutique hotels, buying them, fixing them up, improving them, and then selling them. And so that was really formative for me because I was learning the transactional side of the business while being the GM of these hotels. And so, you know, I was responsible for the success of the business while learning about, you know, buying and selling businesses. And then randomly got presented with the opportunity to buy our favorite yoga studio. Something that my wife and I had always really been into. She is a phenomenal yoga teacher, among many other things. And we took that leap of faith. And I know this is such a key to all of your conversations, is what was that moment? And I feel like it always comes from something kind of negative or could be perceived as negative. I got in a fight with my boss. and it was about my bonus, and I felt like he was sliding me on an agreement that we had. And it was that moment that we got presented with this opportunity to buy our favorite yoga studio. And it wasn't a particularly attractive business. Yoga is not a sexy financial industry. But we loved the community and we loved the people, and we loved being able to bring our kids into that space and have them see our work and the benefit of our work. And it was just a really wonderful thing that completely changed our lives. And so when we sold our studio, when it had been 6 years, we kind of had enough, we were ready for a new challenge. I started helping other studio owners with buying and selling yoga studios.
Interesting.
And then it just became clear to me that this is what I needed to do. And then COVID happened, and it was trial by fire because everybody was trying to sell their businesses. And luckily we all got through that. And, here I am, been doing this now for 5 or 6 years. And I think I'm the only person in the country that specializes in this.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions, is the niche. Most brokers that are selling businesses, they'll just, sell anything that they can. And I think it's really cool that you've niched down, especially in the wellness area.
Yeah. And it's not just, I say boutique fitness, that's the bread and butter, but I've sold every type of business.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Restaurant, hardware store, plumbing, HVAC. Like, I love boutique fitness, health and wellness because I know it the best, and I love the people. And they let me wear my comfy athleisure clothes.
Right.
But yeah, it's awesome, man. I love it, and you never could have predicted it, but here I am.
Yeah. So during that transitional moment between owning the yoga studio and starting the brokerage, you said you were just like kind of ready. You guys kind of did that thing. What was it during that time that you felt like, okay, I'm going to start really helping others do that? Because that's quite the transition of one business to another. That a lot of people go through that, and it's a very difficult thing to do. When you finally feel that, whether it's burnout or it's, all right, I think I did what I could do with this. What was it about kind of moving and going forward with something different?
I want to normalize this. It's part of my whole shtick and my marketing stuff is it's normal to want new challenges.
Absolutely.
Nobody wants the same job their whole life,
No.
and even when you're an entrepreneur, I think it's unrealistic to think that you're going to do that thing forever.
For sure.
And so trying to normalize it a little bit. But basically, for me personally, it's always been about, my chapters have been about as long as college. It's like somewhere between 4 to 6 years where I'm tackling some challenge, excelling at it, and then getting tired of it and looking for a new challenge. And so what happened with owning the yoga studio, I started doing some consulting. A friend of mine had reached out and was like, I help other studio owners with pricing strategy, sales funnels, whatever it is. And I started doing that, and I really enjoyed it. It was just me. I didn't have to worry about employees. For every entrepreneur out there who's listening to this, like, oh, to be done with employees, they're the hardest part. And so it was really fun just to kind of do that on my own. But I think the real shift happened, it's always some other family thing that changes.
Yeah.
And my wife, she was pregnant with our second child. She had a really difficult pregnancy. She was in the hospital a lot. At the same time, my father-in-law fell and broke his back.
Oh, geez.
He was going through a lot, and we were just kind of taken away from the business, and the business suffered. It's hard to keep everything up when you've got that difficult stuff happening in your personal life. And so that was kind of what prompted the initial conversations. And what ended up happening, it didn't work out with selling at that time. We decided to reinvest, get the value up, get the number that we really wanted before we left. And fortunately, we were able to do that. But it took a couple more years. But it gave us that fire to do better, to earn more, to get the valuation that we wanted, so that then we can move on and do something else.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to the beginning where you said, trying to normalize, even if you are an entrepreneur or you're somebody that's been, you found your your career and you make really good money, but normalizing wanting something different. I find that most people, there's several things. One is there's some type of limited belief that they're stopping themselves from going and doing that. And number two is that safety net. People freak out about not having that safety net from what they're currently doing. But giving yourself that exponential ability to just grow and have that growth mindset's been big. Do you talk a lot about kind of like growth mindset with people that are selling and buying? I feel like that probably comes up a lot.
All the time.
Yeah.
Because it's, every person who's buying a business should be looking at it, thinking about how they can add value.
Yeah.
Because the real idea is that you buy it for a lower price, you add value, and then you sell it for a higher price.
Right.
And you receive the benefit of adding the value that you add to something.
Yeah.
And so what I see a lot of is an older generation that's retiring, that has very successful businesses, but maybe they don't love competing in the digital marketing landscape that exists now.
Right.
They've never been on social media or have no interest in talking about AdWords or, cost per click or anything like that. And so a younger generation who knows something more or is more comfortable with those platforms is able to do really well. And I think, if there's one thing that I really want everyone to believe in, it's number one, that your business is worth something. I think there's a lot of people who end up shutting down their businesses just because they're ready to be done and they don't even know that they can sell it. But also that we always have the power to change our situation.
Right.
And that fear, that safety net, as you called it, is always an illusion.
Absolutely.
And so if we can start to anticipate what's next and set some goals for exit strategy, exit planning, when we do make the decision to move on, it's just executing a plan. It doesn't have to be something negative happening. It can be very, very positive. Ideally, it's a win-win for everyone involved.
For sure. Yeah, there's always value in a business. There's always something there, right? Whether it's physical assets, book of business, whatever that may be, the brand. You were talking about fear, something that one of my mentors shared with me that was really eye-opening when it came to fear for me. It was fear equals excuses. They're just excuses for us not to do something. And those excuses are just lies, right? You're just lying to yourself to create an excuse to be fearful of something. And when I started to unlock that, I'm like, okay, I get it. It's just all in the inner development of what we've been programmed to think. I have a quick question though that I'm sure you're just going to agree and be like, yes, it is. It has got to be so fulfilling, especially because these are smaller businesses, helping them sell. After that has got to be amazing. You're not selling these massive companies and merging all that, like helping small business owners see the light at the end of the tunnel and then actually get a payday that has got to be so cool.
And especially having done it myself, and so it's so relatable to feel the pride of successfully selling. And successfully selling means different things to different people. And so to even, make this more inclusive, I've done deals from $1.
Oh, wow.
Up to 4 million. That's my range.
That's a big spread.
And so, a successful exit means different things to different people.
Yeah.
Whatever it is for you is relative to you. It's your timeline, your financial goals, maybe it's you want your business to go to a specific person because they're the perfect person to lead it into the next chapter, and so I always think of my role as just supporting the entrepreneur.
Sure.
It's my opinion I don't have to make any tough choices.
Right.
I just always want to make sure people know their options and the pros and cons of those options, and then be there to be, 90% of what I do is like being a therapist.
I bet.
It's just picking up the phone and talking, because it's a long process. It usually takes a year-ish, average probably 8 or 9 months. And it's dramatic, when you birthed this business baby and grown it in the blood, sweat, and tears, and then, someone comes along and starts asking really pointed questions about why'd you do it this way? And, oh, I see this thing that I don't like. And it just feels gross. And so, but buyers are paranoid. And so they need to be catered to too. And I think that's
Yeah.
always been what my
I
real
love
strength
that.
is making sure that people feel heard,
Absolutely.
speaking to their concerns, and trying to find some common ground.
Yeah, I would imagine that a deal that's worth $1 that might have had to do with just leaving legacy, right? They built this. Like I could definitely see how it might not be monetary for most people. It may just be, I just want this thing to keep breathing and living and being in the community as a place for people to come together and whatever that may be. Um,
Yeah,
that's got to be really cool perspective.
absolutely. And also to, get out of liabilities sometimes. It's,
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm moving. I need to get out of this lease that I'm personally
Right.
guaranteeing, or, I got to go take care of a sick parent.
Yeah.
Is a really common one at this age. I feel like we're
Hmm.
pretty similar age, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. Um, that it's always a bigger calling, I think.
Absolutely. So before we wrap things up, Mitch, I would love to, if you could leave one little piece of advice, maybe it's actionable tip, something that you want the listeners to really walk away from this combo, what would that be?
I want people to know that they have what it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Yep.
I think too many people are scared. They find comfort in being an employee, and I don't think that's safer.
I totally agree.
So I want people to bet on themselves.
Yep.
There's ways to buy businesses with loans that are so beneficial. You can buy a business with 10% down, and the way the numbers work out, you should get that 10% back in about 6 to 8 months.
Crazy.
And then the money's just, from there, it's just
Right.
extra money. And so I just want people to believe in themselves and bet on themselves instead of betting on real estate or a stock that they can't
Yeah.
control. You know,
Totally.
take control of your own motivation and power, and you'll get up every morning fired up to work hard and
Yeah.
earn that money, and make sure you handle whatever situation correctly, because it's your legacy too.
I love that. I'm all about betting on myself. I have owned businesses, exited them. I've worked for corporate America. Like I totally get all of it. And I was most miserable when I was doing the corporate America, and going back to business was so relieving. And I felt more free. There's this thing about, feeling safe. I feel more safe being able to control my calendar, control where I can pull the levers up and down. When you're working for a big company, it's just so mundane. It's like Groundhog Day every single day. And so if you're looking to get out of that, like people need to contact someone like you. Because like you said, there is options. You don't need all the money. You could get a good loan, 10% down. And it doesn't have to be a big company, right? It could just be something that works with your lifestyle. You can see that it brings in the income you need, and you'll be good.
Yeah, I mean, just quickly, I would say, average American makes $60,000 a year.
Right.
A business that makes $60,000 a year, you could probably buy from like
Oh yeah.
120 to 180. Like it's
Right.
usually like 2 to 3 times
Yeah.
loosely how profitable the business is. And so, it's like if you could buy that business with $18,000 down
I know.
and then make an extra 60 grand a year,
Why
maybe an
not?
extra 42 grand a year. Like that's,
Exactly.
so um, I really love it. I really love your podcast, and I want
Thanks.
to take a minute just to thank you for everything that
Yeah.
you've done. We definitely need more places, I think, where men are speaking outwardly about,
Absolutely.
these critical moments in our lives where we're making these huge decisions, and it's just,
Yeah.
and women, obviously. But it's really great what you guys are doing, and not just with this, but with the retreats,
Thank you.
solo retreats, spending time with yourself.
Yeah.
The hardest question I ever ask anybody is, what do you want?
That could take a long time to understand. People don't ever ask themselves that. They don't have the validation. They don't give themselves the permission to actually say that they're worthy of that question.
Right.
It's
And
very
we talked about this a minute ago or a couple days ago, but I'm in the middle of moving my family to
Yeah,
Spain for a
that's
couple
huge.
months for fun,
Yeah.
and with the internet being what it is now,
Oh,
and
for sure.
being able to be an entrepreneur and work anywhere, the ability to earn US dollars and live in a different place
Oh my gosh, I know.
is an opportunity that our parents didn't have.
No.
And so if you want to be on the front edge of this generation's learning curve, I think it's
Absolutely.
working
The
for.
amount of people that I graduated college with that over the years I have found moved out of country, but making US dollars, and I look at their life, I'm like, okay, I see it. You're living like a king or queen, and it's amazing. Well, Mitch, if people wanted to get connected with you, have a conversation, maybe sell or buy a business, where would they do that?
Everything is at Boutique Fitness Broker. So you
Awesome.
can email me, Mitch at Boutique Fitness Broker. You can book a call straight from our website. There's never any pressure. I love talking to people, and I usually find I can help people a lot with one 30-minute preliminary call.
Mm,
And then we might talk a couple times over the next couple years. And then when you're ready, we execute.
love it. Well, Mitch, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man. We'll definitely keep in touch.
Thanks, Kyle.
That was an awesome episode. Mitch is definitely an inspirational guy. So if you're looking to buy or sell a business, I definitely would reach out. And if you're looking to listen to awesome guests just like Mitch, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification button wherever you listen to podcasts. And I cannot wait to bring you along on the next episode of the Peak Podcast.